We are all still reeling from the heartbreaking news surrounding Rob Reiner. It feels surreal, especially considering I had the privilege of working alongside him on the set of North of Film, where I witnessed his brilliance firsthand. But in Hollywood, sorrow often shares the stage with bitterness, and it is becoming increasingly difficult to keep a smile on your face. Reba McEntire has reportedly opened up revealing a list of 5 actors she has vowed never to forgive. Beneath the decades of glittering awards and chart-topping success, Reba's career hasn't just been about applause. It has been scarred by fierce rivalries, backstabbing betrayals, and unforgettable feuds that fundamentally altered her path. We are not talking about minor creative differences here. These are deep, festering wounds inflicted by industry peers, people she claims crossed lines that can never be uncrossed. So what actually went down behind closed doors? Who had the audacity to betray the Queen of Country? And why has Reba chosen this specific moment to let the skeletons out of the closet? You are going to want to hear every detail of this report because the rabbit hole goes deep and the stories get more jaw-dropping as we reveal the list. Starting off at number 5, we have the co-star who tried to hijack her legacy. The hit sitcom Reba didn't just put McEntire on television, it beamed her into the living rooms of millions, transforming a country icon into a beloved sitcom matriarch. Running from 2001 to 2007 audiences, fell in love with her portrayal of Reba Hart, a single mom in Houston handling life's curveballs with sarcasm and heart. However, while the show was cementing her status as a crossover superstar capable of conquering both Nashville and Hollywood, it was simultaneously becoming the battleground for one of the most crushing professional letdowns of her entire life. Long before the director yelled action on the set of Reba McEntire was already established royalty in the music business. Moving into acting felt like the next logical step for a performer who had always possessed a unique natural ability to bond with her fans. The series boasted a stellar ensemble cast featuring the hilarious Melissa Peterman as the chaotic Barbara Jean and Christopher Rich as Brock, the ex-husband everyone loved to hate. The lineup also included Joanna Garcia Swisher playing her daughter Cheyenne and Steve Howey as the lovable Jock Van. In the beginning, everything seemed perfect with the working relationship between McEntire and her castmates appearing nothing short of harmonious. That electric chemistry viewers saw on screen was real, translating into the kind of authentic performances that turn a show into a classic. But don't let the laughter fool you! Behind the sitcom's cheerful exterior, a storm of professional jealousy was brewing that would eventually tear the fabric of their relationship apart. As the show's ratings climbed, whispers began to circulate that one specific co-star was allegedly taking credit for the series' massive success in private industry circles. Insiders close to the production revealed that this individual slowly started positioning themselves as the true creative genius behind the operation. They reportedly claimed ownership over the show's winning formula, from script tweaks to major character arcs ideas that had, in reality, come straight from McEntire herself. The toxicity hit a boiling point in the later seasons when this co-star allegedly began holding the production hostage with demands for more screen time. They insisted on expanding their character's presence, even if it meant cannibalizing McEntire's storylines and diminishing her role. Despite her name being on the marquee and holding the title of executive producer, McEntire found herself in a trench war. She was forced to fight tooth and nail just to maintain her authority and creative voice on a show that was literally named after her. To make matters worse, sources claim that during private Hollywood gatherings, this actor would subtly undermine McEntire's contributions to the project. They insinuated that the only reason the show worked was because of her fame as a singer, dismissing her acting chops and creative input as irrelevant to its success. For a long time, the entertainment world was completely in the dark about the knife fight happening behind the scenes. Both critics and die-hard fans praised the cast's tightness, never suspecting that a massive power struggle was raging the moment the cameras cut. However, cracks started to show when trade magazines began printing blind items about creative differences plaguing a top-rated sitcom. Sharp-eyed television critics even noted strange shifts in the narrative focus during those years' changes that perfectly matched the timeline of this alleged backstage feud. Yet being the consummate professional, McEntire and her co-star kept the mask on tight. They ensured that the drama never spilled into the tabloids while the show was still on the air, preserving the magic for the viewers. It wasn't until after the series finale that the dam broke and industry insiders started acknowledging the toxicity. Producers who worked with both talents later hinted at the nightmare dynamic in various interviews, always careful to avoid dropping names to keep their own careers safe. That entire ordeal fundamentally hardened McEntire, changing how she approached every collaboration moving forward. After getting burned, she became fiercely protective of her creative property and incredibly picky about who she allowed into her professional inner circle. This shift in perspective proved to be crucial preparation for the massive upheaval she would face later, specifically following her split from Narvel Blackstock. When pushed into a corner, she took the reins and became her own manager, taking full control of her empire. Although she confessed that this was never a role she wanted in any shape, form or fashion, she executed the pivot with a level of grace and skill that silenced her doubters. In interviews since then, McEntire often speaks about learning to trust her gut and refusing to compromise on her vision. It is clear that these are wisdoms forged in the fire of her earlier television struggles. Furthermore, she became intentional about setting stone-cold boundaries in her business relationships right from the start. Despite the scars and the drama, McEntire didn't let one bad apple spoil her career. She continued to build a powerhouse acting resume alongside her music. Her legendary resilience allowed her to step over the betrayal and keep climbing, proving she is unstoppable. She shifted her focus, entirely pouring her energy into fresh ventures like her massive Las Vegas residency with Brooks and Dunn, which stretched all the way into 2017, and her stint judging on America's Got Talent. As for the co-star involved in the drama, they have managed to keep a steady paycheck in the television world over the years. However, let's be real, they never quite reached the stratospheric levels of multi-platform dominance that Reba enjoys today. Lately, the rumour mill has been churning about a potential reboot of the sitcom Reba, sparking a renewed obsession with the original cast's chemistry. When the gang got back together for a reunion, things seemed surprisingly polite, hinting that perhaps the passing years have dulled the sharp edges of those old professional scars. Steve Howey, known for playing the lovable Van, was practically beaming about a revival, famously declaring that if Reba tells him to jump, his only question is how high. It is a testament to the immense respect McEntire still commands among the people who really matter from her past crew. Right now, Reba is not just coasting, she is actively widening her footprint across the entire entertainment landscape. This includes her high-profile gig, holding down a big red chair on The Voice, sitting alongside fresh faces like the duo Dan and Shay. On the flip side, that former co-star has mostly steered clear of talking about their shared history on the sitcom, keeping their mouth shut. Throughout her decades in the spotlight, Reba has stuck to a strict code of silence when it comes to airing dirty laundry about workplace beefs. Rather than dragging old colleagues through the mud in the press, she pours her energy into building new bridges and tackling exciting projects. That said, she has dropped a few breadcrumbs here and there, hinting at the hard lessons she learned about who to trust creatively. In one interview that raised a few eyebrows, she made a point to emphasise how crucial it is to get proper credit for the work you put in. It was a comment that plenty of industry insiders read as a direct, albeit subtle jab at her experiences behind the scenes of her sitcom. Most importantly, McEntire has proven that her strategy for dealing with drama is to keep moving upward rather than getting stuck in the past. Her thriving career across music, TV and business is honestly the ultimate clapback to anyone who ever doubted her worth. Lately, however, she has become much more like a mama bear regarding her reputation, stepping up to shut down lies. Back in early 2023, she went out of her way to publicly denounce some truly wild and bizarre allegations that popped up on the internet. It showed she is done letting others write her script. She is taking full control of her own narrative after years of people trying to spin it for her. Despite how messy things got behind closed doors, Reba's ironclad professionalism stopped the drama from sinking the show or her career. Instead of bitterness, she turned that disappointment into fuel for her own personal evolution and power in the industry. For decades, Reba McEntire has held the title of the nicest woman in show business, remaining gracious in a town that usually eats people alive. That is precisely why these revelations hit different, because underneath the glitz, the trophies, and that legendary smile, there were names written on her blacklist and emotional bruises that never quite disappeared. When Reba finally chose to break her silence, it wasn't a tantrum. It was cold, hard honesty, which burns way worse than simple anger. The 5 actors she calls out did more than just let her down. They fundamentally shifted how she navigated the shark tank of Hollywood. You are going to want to stick around for this because the final name on the list is a shocker. Coming in at number 4 is Rob Reiner. If you thought her TV drama was bad, Reba McEntire's venture into the movie world uncovers a whole other chapter of pain. This story involves a heavyweight Hollywood director whose treatment on set left scars that lingered long after the cameras stopped rolling. Her journey through the silver screen was a double-edged sword, offering her massive chances but delivering equal amounts of heartbreak. This was especially true during her interactions with the critically acclaimed filmmaker Rob Reiner. The country icon's tangle with Reiner kicked off back in the early 1990s when she landed a role in his 1994 flick North. This comedy drama was stacked with talent featuring McEntire alongside heavy hitters like Elijah Wood and Jason Alexander. The roster also included legends like Julia Louis-Dreyfus, action star Bruce Willis, and the funny Dan Aykroyd. For McEntire, this wasn't just a gig. It was her golden ticket to proving she could own the box office just as well as the music charts. Before crossing paths with Reiner, she had already flexed her acting chops in cult classics like Tremors and The Little Rascals. Her ability to shapeshift from country superstar to screen actress made it look like she could handle anything with ease. Furthermore, her dive into Hollywood happened right when she was pushing her artistic boundaries to the absolute limit. She even eventually lent that distinct voice of hers to beloved animated projects like the classic Charlotte's Web. Interestingly, her collaboration with Reiner wasn't stuck on a movie set. He actually dipped his toes into her music world as well. He assisted with the dramatic closing sequence of her 1993 music video for the smash hit Does He Love You? That was her iconic duet with Linda Davis, and at first glance, this professional partnership looked like a win-win situation. Reiner brought his cinematic eye to her storytelling, but the vibes shifted drastically once production started on the movie North. Sources claim that is where the trouble started, with witnesses reporting that Reiner's directing style collided violently with how Reba wanted to play her role. It was a scene straight out of a nightmare watching Rob Reiner openly tear into Reba McEntire's acting choices, with the entire cast and crew watching in awkward silence. For a woman who was already a certified legend in the music world, enduring such a public dressing down was nothing short of a humiliating ordeal. Rumours from the set suggest things hit a breaking point when Reiner shouted that her performance was coming off as way too country, clashing with the sophisticated vibe he was desperately trying to curate for the movie. That specific critique had to sting cutting deep, considering the fact that casting directors had chased McEntire specifically because they wanted that authentic down-home warmth and natural charisma she is famous for. The toxicity on set didn't stop there. Reports surfaced that Reiner actually went behind her back to reshoot several of her scenes without a word of explanation, leaving her to find out about the changes during routine production meetings. Being treated like an afterthought left McEntire feeling completely undervalued, undermined, and frankly disrespected as a creative artist. As if that drama wasn't enough, McEntire was simultaneously dealing with a massive heartbreak regarding another potential blockbuster film role. She had actually been the top pick to portray the unsinkable Molly Brown in James Cameron's epic disaster film Titanic. Unfortunately, when production delays pushed the filming schedule back, she was forced to make a tough call and walk away due to conflicting commitments. McEntire opened up about the dilemma, explaining that she was in the middle of a massive concert tour with dozens of employees relying on her for their livelihoods. She recalled that they had a specific 3-month window carved out for the film, but when Cameron's team fell behind and asked to move the dates, she had to say no because rescheduling arenas and routing a tour is practically impossible. That missed opportunity was a bitter pill to swallow, and seeing the role ultimately go to the talented Kathy Bates only added to Reba's frustration during what was clearly a rocky season in her acting career. When interviewers ask if she has any regrets about passing on one of the biggest movies in history, she admits, sure, absolutely, but she stands by the fact that taking care of her crew had to come first. At the time, the industry buzz surrounding the friction between Reba and Reiner was surprisingly quiet, mostly kept under wraps. The movie North was panned by critics upon release, but they were so busy tearing apart the terrible script and weird concept that they barely paid attention to the individual acting performances. Hollywood insiders also pointed out that McEntire's part in the film was pretty minor compared to the heavy hitters sharing the screen, which helped keep the drama off the front page. Because of this, the on-set fireworks remained a sort of inside baseball secret rather than exploding into a full-blown public scandal. It was only years down the road, when the topic of nightmare production stories came up, that entertainment journalists would whisper about the icy dynamic between the country star and the director. Even then, the details were often vague, as the professional film community tends to protect its own, preferring to maintain that glossy illusion of Hollywood harmony rather than airing the dirty laundry of behind-the-scenes feuds. In stark contrast to real industry gossip, a bizarre wave of fake news popped up years later alleging Reba slapped a $50 million lawsuit on The View and Whoopi Goldberg for defamation. You can ignore those headlines, though, because they originated from clickbait sites with zero credibility and were filled with so many inconsistencies. Then it became obvious the entire lawsuit narrative was completely made up. However, the genuine bad blood with Reiner did fundamentally change how Reba approached Hollywood moving forward. After the disaster that was North, she became incredibly picky about movie roles, gravitating toward projects where she had a real voice or directors who actually valued collaboration. That cautious mindset started to bleed into her management style, affecting how she handled professional partnerships across every corner of the entertainment business. Those close to her noticed a shift, seeing Reba become much more assertive in creative meetings, ensuring her input was respected before she ever signed a contract. The decision to pass on Titanic also played a huge role in shaping her long-term philosophy. While she acknowledges it was a missed shot at movie history, she consistently emphasises that prioritising her touring family was the morally right thing to do. That unwavering loyalty to her people, even when it costs her personally, became the hallmark of her brand and leadership style. Perhaps the biggest takeaway from that era was Reba's renewed commitment to keeping a firm grip on the steering wheel of her own career path. Instead of letting these setbacks defeat her, she used the fuel to branch out, conquering Broadway television and business, ensuring she wasn't dependent on just one lane. It was that pivot to diversification that ultimately secured her status as an unshakable icon with decades of longevity. Then, in a shocking turn of events, in December 2026, Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle Singer Reiner were found deceased in their California residence. Reports indicate their daughter stumbled upon the gruesome scene, and police quickly moved to arrest their son, Nick Reiner, as the primary suspect in the double fatality. The tragic news sent shockwaves through Hollywood, leading to an outpouring of grief and tributes from stunned colleagues. Before this horrific conclusion to his life, Reiner had managed to hold on to his reputation as a filmmaking giant and occasional actor. His resume was undeniable, having crafted legendary hits like When Harry Met Sally the Princess Bride and A Few Good Men that defined a generation of cinema. Yet, in all the years following their disastrous collaboration on North, Reiner and McEntire kept a rigid professional distance, almost never mentioning each other's names in interviews, leaving their shared history to fade into an icy silence. Word on the street is that both of them just kept grinding away at their careers, without dragging up any of the old drama or tension publicly. Even though filming was a total nightmare, Reba showed pure class when she heard the news that Reiner had passed. She hit up Instagram with a super sweet throwback pic of the two of them, captioning it about how she truly loved every minute she spent around Rob. She called him one in a million, mentioning she got to work with him on the film North and that he even helped figure out the ending for her Does He Love You music video. She admitted she is going to miss him big time, calling him a genuine gift to the world. She signed off with a simple rest in peace later. Chatting with Entertainment Tonight, you could tell she was struggling to keep it together amidst the shock. She got real saying it had been a super heavy day, especially combining the news with the tragedies down in Australia and at Brown University. Thinking about Rob, his family and his lovely wife, she confessed it is just really hard to be upbeat or energetic right now. All anyone can really do is look back, send some love to everyone hurting and say thank you for the time we had with them. That classy tribute really proves Reba has the ability to separate old workplace drama from her human reaction to a tragedy. Giving her final thoughts on Reiner, she mentioned how gracious he was to jump in on her Does He Love You video, with Linda Davis adding that he was just a lot of fun. An open guy, a killer director and a great person. His work is his legacy. Reba said she will definitely miss him, emphasising what a solid guy he was. That big-hearted reaction highlights Reba's professional maturity and how much she has grown personally since their rocky collaboration days. By focusing on the good times and crediting him for his help, Reba really showed just how complicated things get in showbiz relationships, where creative beef can exist right alongside mad respect for someone's talent and wins. Look, sometimes forgiving people is a breeze and other times it just is not happening. Reba McEntire knows the score better than anyone. As her career blew up with success and adoration, she had moments that totally shattered her trust in people she used to look up to. We are not talking about little misunderstandings or oops moments here. These were deep wounds that lingered, haunting her for years and refusing to just disappear. So when Reba finally spilled the tea on the 5 actors she will never forgive, it was not about getting even. It was about speaking her truth. Each story peels back another layer of the real woman behind the glitz. You better stay tuned until the very end, because that last story, it flips the whole script on what you think you know. Coming in at number 3, we have Laura Putty Stroud. Now, unlike the career clashes we talked about, the personal knife in the back from Laura Putty Stroud cut way deeper for the country legend. This heartbreaking saga kicked off right after her 26-year marriage fell apart, proving that even your tightest friendships can implode under crazy circumstances. Throughout her decades of fame, Reba built a squad of trusted friends to keep her grounded while her career went nuts. And right in the middle of that inner circle was Laura Putty Stroud, a successful real estate agent who had been Reba's buddy for years. They seemed super tight, constantly spotted hanging out together at parties and big celebrations. Their socials were full of BFF moments, like that time they were living it up at a Katy Perry concert, rocking those wild, colourful wigs. Photos like that made everyone think their bond was unbreakable. Which makes what happened next so much more shocking and painful. After Reba and her husband, Narvel Blackstock, announced they were splitting, back in August 2015, she tried to stay positive about the future despite the heartbreak. In an interview right after the news drop, she said she was looking forward to what was next. Leaning on her faith, she added that God is her manager, her tour boss, her scheduler, her everything, and that he would cook up the greatest things for her. But behind that brave face, a much messier situation was brewing. By January 2016, just a few months after the divorce ink was dry, rumours started swirling about a romance between Narvel Blackstock and Laura Putty Stroud. Finding out her ex-hubby was dating her close friend sent absolute shockwaves through Reba's personal world and the whole country music scene. The timing was super suspicious, making people wonder if this fling had actually started before the divorce was even final. One source did not mince words, calling it a total bombshell that nobody saw coming. That reaction highlights just how stunning it was to see someone from Reba's trusted circle cross such a massive line. The media went into a frenzy over this personal drama, focusing on the super awkward dynamic of a friend dating an ex-spouse, basically 5 minutes after the breakup. The public was totally Team Reba on this one, realising the emotional damage of watching a former confidant suddenly playing house with your ex-husband. Everyone felt for Reba, seeing the situation for the absolute betrayal it truly was. It was a double-barreled shotgun blast to the heart, coming simultaneously from the man she vowed to spend forever with and the woman she trusted as a confidant. But what really dropped jaws across the industry wasn't just the scandal itself, but McEntire's absolute refusal to drag them through the mud publicly. She chose the high road, maintaining a stony, dignified silence regarding her heartbreak, a move that only skyrocketed her status among her loyal fan base and peers. Of course, the silence from her camp didn't stop the gossip mills from churning out theories about when exactly the lines were crossed. The romance between Narvel and Laura heated up at such a breakneck speed that it left everyone wondering if the sparks were flying long before the divorce papers were signed. As one insider spilled the fact that her ex-husband and his new flame went public and serious barely a year after the divorce raised more than a few eyebrows. The timeline suggested a messy overlap, fueling heavy speculation that this emotional affair had been simmering right under Reba's nose for quite some time. Suffering such a profound personal double-cross fundamentally rewired how McEntire navigates her social life and personal connections. She has become noticeably more guarded, building higher walls around her heart and meticulously vetting anyone seeking entry into her inner sanctum. Yet when it comes to business, she is made of steel. Her professional drive never wavered for a second. In a move that baffled many, she continued working side by side with Narvel, keeping their partnership at Starstruck Entertainment alive strictly for the sake of the empire they built. This era of her life also brought a magnifying glass down on her private world, attracting all the wrong kinds of attention. Aside from the heartache caused by Laura and Narvel, she suddenly found herself fighting a war against internet trolls, fake news and scammers. It got so bad that she had to repeatedly jump online to tell her followers that those accounts begging for cash or peddling CBD gummies were absolutely not her. Back in November of 2023, she had to drop a serious red alert on Instagram, telling fans bluntly that neither she nor her team would ever slide into their DMs. She made it crystal clear that no one from her camp would ever text from a random cell number asking for money in exchange for a meet and greet. The post was practically shouting, with the text bolded in red, begging her supporters to please protect themselves from these online predators. Meanwhile, Laura and Narvel didn't seem to care about the optics, flaunting their relationship openly after the initial news broke. Their social media feeds became a highlight reel of their romance, including a cosy celebration where they rang in 2019 together as an official couple. They even went as far as posting a video on Stroud's Instagram locking lips and proving they weren't hiding anything. The grapevine suggests they eventually tied the knot, though they have kept the exact date of the wedding shrouded in mystery. They haven't disappeared from the scene either. They still pop up in country music circles, occasionally crossing paths with Reba, the reigning queen of the genre. What makes the dynamic even more tangled is that plenty of Nashville heavyweights refuse to pick a side. Rumour has it that Blake Shelton actually officiated the wedding for Narvel, and Laura ignoring the awkwardness of his professional ties to Reba. That kind of crossover just adds another layer of drama to the incredibly small and incestuous world of the Nashville entertainment industry. Perhaps the biggest twist is that McEntire has managed to keep things surprisingly civil with the newlyweds despite the history. Insiders claim she somehow maintained a friendship with them, or at least a working truce, continuing to co-pilot Starstruck Entertainment with Narvel without burning the building down. It is a masterclass in compartmentalisation, proving she can separate deep emotional wounds from the cold, hard reality of running a business. But her best revenge wasn't in business deals. It was in living her best life and finding happiness again. By the time 2020 rolled around, McEntire had stepped back into the dating game, finding a spark with actor Rex Linn. During a candid chat with E! News in April 2023, she dropped a bombshell that she's actually open to walking down the aisle again, saying if he feels strongly about it, she's game. She noted that since he has never been married, she would be happy to let him experience that milestone if that is what his heart desires. This ability to evolve and keep her heart open after such a public betrayal is exactly why she is untouchable in the eyes of the public. It isn't just about the platinum records, it is about the grit and grace she shows when life tries to knock her down. Tinseltown loves to present a shiny, perfect exterior, but we all know it hides a whole lot of ugly messes behind those velvet ropes. Reba McEntire has been navigating that two-faced reality for decades, smiling for the cameras while dealing with the chaos. While the world saw the glitz, the laughter and the #1 hits, She was quietly filing away betrayal stories she never thought she would air out. The 5 actors Reba is about to expose aren't just random colleagues. Each name represents a specific moment where trust was shattered and lines were crossed. Some of these feuds have been whispered about at parties for years, while others were total secrets. But as we go down the list, the drama only gets more intense. You are going to want to stay tuned until the very last second because the final reveal is a shocker that nobody predicted. Coming in at number 2, Miranda Lambert. Forget the friendships and the duets for a second. Reba's career has been forged in the fires of fierce cutthroat competition. When it comes to country music's biggest trophies, the gloves come off and everyone wants the glory. Her ongoing awards show rivalry with Miranda Lambert pulls back the curtain on how desperate the fight for recognition in Nashville can really get. As one of the most decorated legends in the history of the genre, McEntire has a trophy case that would make anyone jealous, accumulated over 5 decades. And she didn't get there by being passive. In a raw interview with Esquire, she flat out admitted, "I am very competitive. I snag a #1 hit record and immediately I am hungry for the next chart topper. I take home a glittering award and before the applause fades, I am already eyeing the next trophy." This relentless, almost insatiable drive for glory stands in stark contrast to the laid-back, take-it-as-it-comes vibes some of her peers seem to embrace. The rivalry really heated up back at the 54th ACM Awards in 2019, marking Reba's 16th time running the show as host. She did not hold back during her opening monologue, putting the Academy on full blast for completely shutting women out of the prestigious Entertainer of the Year race. She stood there on stage and cracked, "Did you guys hear it snowed in Las Vegas just a couple of weeks back? It got so frosty out here that it froze us women right out of the Entertainer of the Year category entirely." The audience audibly gasped at the pointed shade, but she just ploughed right ahead with her crusade for the ladies of country music. Rumour has it the drama spiked even higher after their 2026 team-up on Trailblazer at the 60th ACM Awards. Insiders whispered that McEntire's bossy behaviour during the promo tour left Miranda Lambert and Lainey Wilson feeling like backup singers in their own show. Sources claim Reba made sure she was the main character in every headline and interview once the curtain dropped. To be fair, most of the industry rallied behind McEntire's fierce fight to get female artists their due respect. Her call out of the boys' club struck a nerve, especially since only 8 women have ever snagged Entertainer of the Year in the 48 times they have handed it out since 1971. But when it comes to that alleged backstage beef regarding the Trailblazer performance, not a single reputable magazine could prove there was actual blood on the floor. You won't catch McEntire, Lambert or Wilson confessing to any bad blood or conflict on the record. The gossip seems to be coming straight from supermarket tabloids like the National Enquirer, while the serious news outlets aren't buying into the drama. If anything, the award show tension just cemented Reba's status as the fierce protector and advocate for female talent. It really shed light on just how differently she views the game of fame compared to someone like Lambert. There is this one revealing story where Reba genuinely wished Lambert good luck before a ceremony where Miranda was up for Female Vocalist of the Year. Reportedly, Miranda just shrugged and said, "Oh, I already won that one. It is time for someone else to have a turn." McEntire was absolutely floored later, admitting she thought, "What kind of person actually lets those words leave their lips?" I was shook. I honestly believed every artist out there was wired with the same competitive fire that I have. Miranda Lambert has pretty much crowned herself the queen of the ACMs with 37 wins, including snagging Female Vocalist of the Year 9 separate times. She is known for lifting up the new generation like Lainey Wilson, while McEntire keeps expanding her empire everywhere else. That includes her stint in the big red chair on The Voice, sitting alongside heavy hitters like Niall Horan, Snoop Dogg and Michael Bublé. Word on the street is her take-charge attitude managed to annoy her co-stars on that set occasionally too. Despite the competitive undercurrents, Reba showed she still has love for the ladies singing Wilson's praises at the 2026 ACM Awards. She gushed, "I am so proud of Lainey, who has racked up 5 ACM Award nominations tonight, even gunning for Entertainer of the Year." From an old school belt buckle girl to this bell-bottom cowgirl, I am just blown away by how hard she works. Of course, McEntire's PR team has been working overtime to explicitly deny any sort of feud exists between the performers. While they might look at trophies and accolades differently, their professional bond keeps shifting and evolving. It is a delicate dance between competitive tension and a deep respect for what they have both built in country music. There is a specific kind of sting that hits you when you get stabbed in the back by people you looked up to. Reba McEntire has felt that knife more than a few times, carrying the hurt in silence for years. This isn't just a list fueled by bitterness. It is a reflection shaped by time growth and hard-earned boundaries. The 5 actors Reba refuses to forgive did more than just hurt her feelings. They shattered her ability to trust in an industry she once believed was a supportive family. As we look at each name, you will feel the weight of that betrayal, and by the end, the whole picture will make sense. Stick around until the very last second, because the final story reveals why some scars never fade. Number 1, Blake Shelton. Mentorship relationships in Nashville can make or break you, yet even the tightest professional bonds can snap under pressure. For Reba McEntire, her history with Blake Shelton serves as the ultimate cautionary tale. It is the perfect example of how industry alliances can evolve from supportive friendships to strained silences. In the beginning, Shelton looked at Reba with genuine admiration, constantly begging her to come coach on The Voice. They go way back to season 1 in 2011, when Reba stepped in to serve as Shelton's advisor during the battle rounds. The rupture supposedly happened right after McEntire's divorce from Narvel Blackstock in 2015. Rumours flew that Blake actually officiated Narvel's wedding to Laura Putty Stroud, Reba's former friend, creating an incredibly awkward dynamic in Nashville. That move reportedly left McEntire feeling completely blindsided and betrayed by someone she considered family. This stings even more when you realise just how deeply personal this betrayal truly was, hitting way too close to home for everyone involved. In a cutthroat industry where loyalty is the only currency that really matters, Shelton's calculated move was viewed by many as stepping way over the line. From that instant, insiders reveal that the temperature between the two stars dropped to near freezing. On the surface, of course, they both played the game perfectly, keeping their smiles bright and their interactions polite whenever the cameras were flashing. But you know how these things go. Whispers in the hallway suggested the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife, especially since Shelton and Reba were still awkwardly tethered together by the massive machine that is The Voice. Ultimately, the Queen of Country did take her throne as a coach in season 24, though she candidly admitted she turned it down flat at first and was actually dreading the whole experience. While Blake finally bowed out after his historic run as the longest-serving coach, Reba is back in the spotlight for season 28, sharing the panel with superstars Snoop Dogg, Michael Bublé and Niall Horan. Yet through every twist of this messy saga, McEntire has kept her head held high, handling the drama with the effortless class she is legendary for. She put it best when describing her coaching philosophy to an interviewer, explaining that her goal is never to tear anyone down, but rather, we encourage, we lift up. That wraps up today's deep dive into the hidden drama of country music's biggest stars. Thank you so much for hanging out with us until the end. If you live for this tea, make sure to smash that like button sound off in the comments below and subscribe to the channel for your daily dose of celebrity scoop. To keep the binge session going with more thrilling stories just like this one, go ahead and tap on the video popping up on your screen right now.